of his stature and the way he is, having things with his players and his coaches, assistant coaches and things of that nature going down that he's not aware of. It's just really hard to believe. He had some super cheesy, lame sound bites that are worth YouTubing. Check them out. I had my heart ripped out of my chest and just broken. Stuff like that. Great stuff. But anyway, the allegations are that some of the, I believe, assistant coaches or, people, lower level staff people on the men's basketball program for the University of Louisville established an escort service for both recruits who were there on recruiting visits as well as players, I believe, who were on the team to take care of the young men who were hoping, who were thinking about being on the basketball team or who had chosen to be on the basketball team. So if it's not too late to go back to college, and if Rick Pitino is looking for a 5'11" to 6 foot tall, extremely slow, fragile, 185 pound white guy who can't, jump over his own tennis shoes, to come sit on the bench and be like a player coach type of thing. Shoot me a message on Facebook at Scotty-Ball or tweet me at BDST Show, and we will set up a campus visit promptly. So there's your Balls Juice segment. I will give you more details on that hopefully next week as people get fired or more allegations come out or lies get revealed or whatever, however this story plays out. But really all it is right now is, like I said, assistants are dealing with allegations and they haven't been confirmed or denied, but it's sounding and feeling like they are somewhat true. And so we will just have to wait to see all the different disciplinary actions that come down to said students and said coaches or faculty members or staff or what have you. All right, so that's it for Balls Juice. Now we are officially on to all the quickies. Okay, so we are going to start our quickies with the WNBA Finals because the WNBA Finals are going on. Not right now, but in general right now. Last night we had Game 2, and that saw the Minnesota Lynx even up the series at 1 game apiece over the Indiana Fever, who have been they beat the MVP in round 1. They beat the best team in all of basketball in their conference finals round 2 to get here. And then they come out in Game 1 on the road against the best team in the West with recent championship experience and take Game 1, while the Lynx came out last night and tied it up at 1 game apiece. So, unlike the previous first round and conference finals, the finals is a best of 5, not a best of 3, as were the previous 2 rounds, which is very nice. So that Game 2 was in Minnesota, where Minnesota tied it up. So they will go to Indiana for 2 games in a row where they will need to win at least 1 to reestablish home court advantage and bring it back to Minnesota for hopefully a decisive, victorious Game 5. I would expect I wasn't able to find confirmation when I looked, but I would expect Game 3 in Indiana to either be tomorrow night or Friday. It depends on if they give them a travel day. Obviously, there's a day off in between games mandatory, but generally they would give a travel day as well if you're switching locations. So today would have been the standard off day. Tomorrow would be the travel day, prep day, and then Friday would be game night. So whether it's tomorrow night or Friday night, Game 3, Minnesota Lynx at Indiana Fever, series tied at 1 apiece for the WNBA championship. Check it out in your local listings. All right, moving on in our quickies. We will be recapping UFC 192. That's right, the big UFC 192 last week. There was a no fight. Actually, we will start off with that. The co-main event, not this one that was scheduled for last for the title, but the co-main event which was supposed to go on, second to last, was Hendricks versus Woodley, number one contendership for Lawler's title, and Lawler has a match scheduled to defend that against someone else at the upcoming UFC 193. Hendricks hit issues in cutting weight. He was not able to successfully cut weight. They had to scrap the fight. He ended up, I want to say, in the hospital having kidneys and other organs and issues tended to and treated and assessed and whatnot. So horrible, missed opportunity for both UFC fight promoters having this monster 3 fights at the top, losing their co-main event, which was a number one contendership title, or a number one contendership match. But ultimately the winner here is Woodley. Woodley has been granted number one contendership as a result. He will take on the winner of Lawler and whoever the heck he fights. I think it's like Carlos something or something like that, at the upcoming UFC 193. So congratulations to Woodley, big winner there. And we just hope that Hendricks, as far as he's concerned, is able to physically get himself right and healthy so that he can pursue, continue his fighting career. All right, but recapping the fights that actually happened at UFC 192 this past Saturday. All right, so in the 2 biggest fights of the night, lasting all 5 rounds and going to decision in the main event, we had champion Daniel Cormier, or Cormier, however you say it, win via split decision versus Alexander Gustafsson. So Gustafsson, I mean, this was a close fight. One judge scored the fight 47-48 in favor of Gustafsson. Another scored it in favor 48-47, Cormier. So completely split there, 50-50. And then Judge Kerry Hatley was the decider who scored it 49-46 in favor of Cormier. Gustafsson had a knockdown. Cormier did not. Each of them had a takedown. Significant strikes were almost the same. Gustafsson's 120 to Cormier's 140. However, total strikes, Cormier was much higher, 219 to 130. So, yeah, really close fight. And don't be surprised if maybe there's a rematch at some point in time yet. I don't know that that's settled by any means. Then, in what got bumped up to the co-main event, we had Rashad Evans return to the octagon after a long hiatus. He lost his 3-round fight via decision to Ryan Bader, who won unanimously 30-27 on all the scorecards. No knockdowns for either, no submission attempts for either. 1 takedown for Bader to Evans, 0. Significant strikes were twice as much, 52-25 for Bader. Total strikes were 55-27 for Bader. Looks like a fairly one-sided, boring fight on paper. Moving on, we had my man, one of the newest members of the Balls Deep Army. He followed the show at BDST Show on Twitter, Balls Deep Sports Talk, last week. So couldn't be happier that my pick to win his heavyweight match won his heavyweight match. Ruslan Magomedov was your winner via decision, unanimous decision, over Sean Jordan, 30-27, 30-27, 29-28. No knockdowns, no submission attempts, 1 takedown for Jordan to 0 for Magomedov. But significant strikes for Ruslan, 71 to Jordan's 20. Total strikes 85-39. Wow, Ruslan just a slugfest over Sean Jordan. And my man, like he said, he followed us on Twitter last week. So we're happy to have him here as a part of the Balls Deep Army, and we hope nothing but his continued success. We also had Joseph Benavidez over Ali Bagadanov. I'm not sure how to say the Bagadanov guy's name. He won by a decision. That was unanimous as well. We had Juliana Penn win by decision over Jessica Eye. That was unanimous, 29-27 on all the scorecards. 3 submission attempts to 1, 3 takedowns to 1. Fairly one-sided there. Then we had my man Daniel Hooker losing, because I picked him because I like anyone named Hooker. He lost to Yar Rodriguez via decision, unanimously, fairly convincingly. And then we had Albert Tumanov win via KO technical knockout, a performance of the night candidate over Alain Joubin. He won in the first round, 2 minutes and 2 seconds via knockout. And then in another performance of the night candidate winning via knockout / TKO, we had Adriano Martins defeat Islam Makhachev? Yeah, Islam Makhachev. In 3 minutes 14 seconds into round 1 of his fight as well. Then winning by submission in the other female fight, we had Rose Namajunas in round 1, 2 minutes 52 seconds into it, over Angela Hill. We had Sage Northcutt knocking out Francisco Trevino. No relation to Lee Trevino, I believe. And via decision, we had Sergio Pettis winning over Chris Carriazo. That was a unanimous decision. A close fight, closely scored fight though. And finally, we had Derek Lewis winning in knockout / TKO fashion in round 3, 3 minutes and 45 seconds over Victor Pesta. And it didn't look like Victor Pesta did much. 8 significant strikes. 5 takedowns though. But yes, Derek Lewis knocks him out. So there is your UFC 192 recap. Alright, in very brief PGA golf news, the President's Cup is, I believe, this weekend, although nobody gives a hoot to talk about it. Actually, now upon further review, I believe that the President's Cup for PGA is next week, October 15th, that starts. So, one more golf tournament to look forward to. You can bet your bottom dollar that I will be checking that out every chance I get, as it is the last tournament of the year for the most part. I mean, in all reality. And I love professional golf. So, alright, so there we talked a little bit of PGA, moving along to NASCAR, getting you up to speed. Bad pun. Yay! Alright, so we are further along in the chase for the Cup. 2 races down into in the final tournament here. I mean, we've got 2 races under our belt, with at least 2 more to go, possibly 3 or 4. I am not sure on that. Kevin Harvick was your winner last week. I did have him on my DraftKings fantasy NASCAR team in the race last week as well. I turned my quarter into $1.75. I have played 2 NASCAR games on DraftKings so far this year, and I have won money on them both. So even though I don't know anything about NASCAR, apparently I do know just a little bit of something about NASCAR. 4 people were eliminated after last week's race from the chase for the Cup. They will no longer be in the races. Of those 4, the one name that stood out to me that I remember the most was Clint Bowyer. But so for this week, we've got Kevin. Your favorites in order via DraftKings would be Kevin Harvick, followed by Kyle Busch, Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson, Martin Truex Jr., Joey Logano, Keselowski, Hamlin, the other Kurt Busch, probably, not Kyle, whichever, the other K. Busch, whichever one isn't as good, Carl Edwards, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon still hanging on in there in his last full-time season. Good to see that he's, found his way into these final races. That is really nice to see. Behind him is Casey Kane, Larson, McMurray, Ryan Newman. Every time I see R, I think Randy Newman. I'm like, Ryan Newman, gonna drive in circles, make a left turn, driving straight now. Whoop, there's another left turn coming. What's he gonna do? He gonna turn left. Sorry, getting real carried away there. I find Randy Newman hilarious, and Ryan Newman reminds me of Randy Newman. And then we got Menard, followed by Tony Stewart, who's really trailing off and disappearing. Dylan Boyer's still on here for some reason, even though he's out of this. Maybe he's racing, he's just no longer in contention. for to win the cup. Maybe that's what it meant. 4 people eliminated from